Good evening. Good evening, gang. Good evening. Quick sound check. Can everybody hear me? Connection all good? Everything looks fine on my end, but someone let me know. And if we're good, we'll get straight into it. Gang. Don't actually know why I say gang. I don't say it in real life. Yep. Cool. Where is everybody tonight? Seems quiet in here. I know Zarina's pulled a free pass. I've got a few of you in. There we go. Right, audio's good. Right, gang. Welcome. So first and foremost, typical Tuesday, volatile day. It's been good. It might hurt a few people. Because you're a cool kid. Yeah, I am cool. Can't deny that, mate. My cool old man. Yeah, it might hurt a few people. Obviously, the move up. Obviously, looking for shorts. But it's just a loss. Take it on the chin. Move on. You find the next entry. So far, we have retraced some of that move. It's been nice on the ES or SPX, whatever you want to call it. It's retraced quite a fair bit. So yeah, let's see what happens. But obviously, we're not here tonight to talk about that. We're here tonight to finish. Well, I say finish loosely because we may come back to this in the future when we find out more things. But for now, hopefully, we can finish up the psychology modules. How do you do, fellow kids? I am that cool, Potts. I am that cool, mate. Right, so obviously last week we talked about the actual trading psychology itself and what it's all about. So I'm not going to run through that part again. We're just going to get straight into the individual topics and to basically follow on and expand on what we talked about on the last stream. So straight into it. Again, we're going to get a bit deep again. I apologise. And no, I don't mean that in a rude way before someone comments. Enzo. First and foremost tonight, streaks. It's a big thing, is streaks. Now, by streaks, I mean winning streaks and losing streaks, because for me, they're both equally as bad. A losing streak is arguably worse, but a winning streak can do very damaging things to your capital. Okay? Enzo, you know exactly what I mean, mate. So, typical examples, obviously. Within a losing streak, right, it can easily lead to revenge trading, ignoring all your risk management, gambling, and chasing your P&L. And I am sure that at least 90% of you have gone through this at some point. I know I have. The typical example is you take a trade, you lose, but it's still in the area that you're interested in. So you take another trade and you lose. You get stopped out because you're using really tight stops because you're trading your P&L, right? And then all of a sudden you've lost 5 trades in a row, but it's still in an area where you want to place that trade. But now you're thinking, well, if I just use the same risk management as I was using when I had the full capital before I've just lost 5R, then it's all right because I'll make it all back. And then you lose again. And then all of a sudden you crank up your leverage now because your account capital is down so bad that you crank up your leverage and risk management goes completely out of the window. And by the end of the day, you're either using 50 or 100x leverage and your account's gone to shit. Now, I know people aren't going to want to admit that, but I am pretty sure there's a lot of you in here that's done that in the past. I'm hoping that you don't do that now, but I know full well that a lot of you have done that. I've done it before. I'm guilty of this. But obviously that's what a losing streak can do. Especially obviously when you're not sticking to your plan, you're not sticking to your rules. You just going and you're going and you're going and you're going. And basically if you whittle it all down, it comes down to that in that specific example that you didn't put the stop loss in the right fucking place because you were trading your P&L. Okay? Winning streaks, straight away, winning streaks lead to overconfidence. And I see this so much. I see this on Twitter. You get someone that's cocky because they've got God knows how many trades right in a row. And then all of a sudden, the next setup that they've posted goes against them and they'll go fucking quiet. And the reason why they go fucking quiet is because when you've got the feeling that you know better than the market, you are about to be humbled. You are about to be humbled. None of us know better than the market. None of us have a 100% win rate. None of us have an edge that is better than the market. Right, so once you start getting the feeling that you know the better of the market and you're feeling overconfident, all it takes is 1 to 2 losses and your overconfident state will quickly change into a losing streak mentality. That's all it takes. So you've won 10 trades in a row and you're feeling cocky. You are top of the world. You are the fucking best trader out there. You're ready to, you're ready to start your own Twitter account. You're ready to start your own YouTube. You're ready to start, offering advice to other people. And then you take 1 to 2 losses and all of a sudden you're right back here and you start gambling. Even though you're up massively because you've won 10 trades in a row, you are up massively. But the little demon inside you says, shit, we're down now, we've just lost 2. Fuck, we need to make it back. And it's very quick how you can change. Okay? Now, I'm not going to give you a magic pill for these, because these are tough psychological issues to control. And the only way to get above these is through experience. You've got to go through all this bullshit to come out the other side, take a step back, and you go, oh, fuck. Done it again. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you and say I did this once. Both sides did it once and then that's it. We're all better. I've done it multiple times. I haven't done it for a long time, which is something that I'm happy to say, because as soon as I get those feelings, I think, fuck, this isn't going to end well. Okay? Once you've got your ability to become numb to winning and losing, these don't pose a threat. And that's the key. You just need to remain as neutral as possible throughout trading. As a general rule, as neutral as possible. Get a little bit excited about winning, as in winning your trades right. But don't let it get to your head, because you'll only be humbled. Okay? And the other note that I've got here is you must record the state of your mind in your journal to truly understand the outcome of these issues. Now, there's a reason why, obviously, on all my trading journals, the original one and the updated one, it's got the mood upon entering the trade. Right? And these just a random example. I just typed in a random couple of things. Till angry, overconfident. Right? I still record these as I go along. So I will record my state of mind. The only thing I would suggest, and I've written a little note here, is to keep it simple. Right? If you're angry, like whatever reason is, you could have multiple reasons to be angry. You could have multiple reasons to be overconfident. You could have multiple reasons to be on tilt. Keep it simple, because then you can filter it. And this is why I know my stats on my moods. I think I've got 12 different moods that I can write in here on my own personal chart. And I can tell you what happens as a general rule of thumb with each mood. So keep it simple. Don't write War and Peace in these. Just keep it simple, and that way when you filter it, you can filter it to all of the occasions that say, all of the trades, that say angry, or all of the trades that say overconfident, and you can run through the stats. Okay? This is very, very important. Right. That's first part done. Second part, knowing when to take a break. And I've written a little side note here, a little subheader. This is the primary goal for any aspiring trader. Now, a lot of people won't talk about this, and I'm going to talk about it now. So, you've heard this. I've said it many times. There's always 3 options. There's always 3 trading options. Long, short, no trade. And option 3 can be the best decision, even if you are presented with a high probability setup. But this can also be the hardest trade. And this really is tough. This is a very tough one. And to be fair, I was smiling to myself the other day because I saw a couple of people in the group say that you missed the trade or you didn't take it because timings weren't right, you were at work or whatever the reasons were. And that made me smile because it's not easy to not take a high probability trade. Right? Now, the reason why I say it can be the best option even if you are presented with a high probability setup, And the reason why is because if your mental state isn't neutral, it can lead to bad decisions. Right? You've got to be neutral. So typical examples, bad frames of mind. So, we've just covered this a minute ago. Winning streaks, losing streaks, overtired, intoxicated, family, friends, arguments, fallouts. If you've had a fallout with your other half, or you've had a fallout with your kids, or, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, right? Mum, dad. If you've had a fallout, it's left a bitter taste in your mouth. You're still a little bit angry. And another good one, just as an example, unexpected bills. So, like, I don't know, you've taken your car in for a service, and all of a sudden you've been slapped with, an extra grand that you didn't know you needed to spend. You've had a parking fine through the door. Unexpected house repairs, I don't know, your boiler breaks or something along those lines. Someone spills red wine on your carpet or on your nice cream sofa. Just random things that come out of nowhere. Right? These can really fuck you up when it comes to trading. Okay? So if any of these, or whatever else is on your list, are there and present and they're pissing you off, then no trade is the best option. Now, red wine evenings are a no-go to trade. Honestly, mate, I mean, I drink again now, but I drink very rarely, and I only drink on a weekend now. But I effectively went teetotal about 2 years ago. And couple of reasons for that is in fact there's probably 3 reasons for it. I was getting really bad guts from it, which obviously I found out is a gluten thing and a yeast thing. B, I have no off switch, or had no off switch. And C, I ended up drinking on random nights that I was still taking trades, and it didn't end well. I lost the majority of the trades. So, and that's just off a couple of glasses of wine. So, jokes aside, you just got to be right in your head. When I start to see people on Twitter that are taking hallucinogenics and things like that and trading, I just think, well, you're talking out your ass, because you're not trading at the same time. Personally, I take frequent breaks to overcome any potential failures. My biggest issue is being overtired. And I can say that because obviously you guys know I've got a 3-year-old son. So that's one thing. And hush, you were doing so well drinking trade away. Behave yourself, Dave. Obviously I've got a 3-year-old son, and add that to the fact that I wake up and I'm up out of bed between 5 and half 5 every morning, Monday to Friday, either to go to the gym or to sit and do some work or to have some time by myself. So I know full well that come mid-afternoon, roughly around 3:30, I crash pretty bad. So you'll notice in the group I go really quiet, and sometimes it's because I'm sticking my head down for a 20-minute nap. But that's because I know that I lose more trades when I'm sleep deprived, and I can even go through my journal and I can statistically display that because I'll write overtired or tired in my journal, that I lose these trades. So therefore, all I know is if I'm overtired, I don't take a trade. I can still chart, I can still do other things, but I won't take a trade. It's as simple as that. But ultimately, the hardest part about taking a break is the other emotion that takes over, and that's FOMO. Now, obviously, a lot of people associate FOMO with, a chasing a dildo, fast-moving dildo, and you start chasing it, you go crazy going for it. But reality is, obviously, FOMO is fear of missing out. So if price actions come in close to a key area of interest, but you're mentally not in the right place, you will struggle to switch off because you've got the fear of missing out. I suppose an admittance from my side. When I used to trade, before I got the group, I managed to do this very well. I managed to take no trading, and it never bothered me. But I'd say for the first 3 months of having this group, I struggled with FOMO. And from a switching off point of view, because I'm a group leader, I'm a paid group leader to make it even worse. So therefore, I've got to be seen to be taking all of the high probability trades. If I teach you guys what a high probability setup looks like and I'm not taking it, then does that look bad? And that's what I thought inside. So therefore, my fear of missing out really took over, and I'd stay up all night long. Or if I was knackered on an afternoon, I'd still sit there and I'd still take the fucking trades, because the fact that, for me, I was like, well, I need to be seen to be taking this. And it's only after the group settled down and I settled down into this, like, coaching role, I suppose, that I was like, right, okay, stop being a dickhead, Spitty. Switch off. If I don't take the trade, I don't take the trade. I'm pretty sure some of you guys are going to take the trade, and, all happy days. And that's what it's all about. So, yeah, it's a very, very difficult thing to get over, is this, to know when not to trade and when to take a break. And I've written there, you find a line there. Once you can confidently say that you're fine with this, you've mastered this part of the psychology of trading psychology. So sometimes knowing when not to take a trade is key. And I know a few of you have had private conversations with me about this, and I know a few of you can do this, and that genuinely makes me happy. But I know full well there's a lot of you that will struggle with this. So it's not a failure just because you've seen a trade set up and you've not taken it because you're not quite there in your frame of mind. Or maybe some fear has taken over you, so it spooked you out of taking a trade. It's not the end of the fucking world. Okay? Sometimes no trade is better than a trade. Okay? So, that's that. Now we want to take a break. Next one. Again, another subject that doesn't get talked about enough in my opinion. Paper trading. Trading capital versus paper trading. So first and foremost, paper trading. Obviously, we all know what paper trading is. Pros, and this is just my view, but I know that a lot of professional traders share this view. So, excellent zero risk way to practice trading, journaling, technical analysis, getting used to everything, understanding the process. It's great. I can't fault it. It's great. It's awesome. The downside of it is there's pretty much next to zero psychology involved. So when you win the trades, it'll give you a little confidence boost and a little dopamine hit. Yep, great, cool, I'm doing it right, I'm on the right track. But when you lose trades, it has very little effect. Because all it is some random numbers on a screen. And you know it's not real. You know it's not real at all. It's just some numbers on a screen. So therefore, if that number goes down by $100, it's not the end of the world because it's not real. It's not real, so it won't affect you. Psychologically, it won't affect you. And the funny thing is when you actually get into the right frame of mind about money, is you should view this as paper trading when you actually are trading with real money. If you can view the real money as if it was paper trading, you'll make much better decisions and you'll grow a lot faster. But yeah, so I'll say that I'm not against paper trading. However, moving from paper to cash is a big change, and it will be a big change, and it will psychologically fuck you. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I'm not going to say anything else. It's easy to do. It's easy to get into. No, it's not. It's going to psychologically fuck you. So the best way to counter this is start with a really low amount, an amount of money that you're not bothered about, right? So, if that's $100, if you're not bothered about $100, you're going to chuck $100 in as your initial capital to trade with, do that. If $1,000 is nothing to you, then do that. Whatever the number is, do it with that first. And then, like we said on last stream, we talked about, thinking about that reloading is not an option. Treat that as it's the only money you've got. And if you can do that, then with that small balance, then we can start looking at scaling. Right? But start with something that doesn't bother you, and then basically once you're starting with something that doesn't bother you, go back to how you started with paper trading, and then just work your way through the process again until you're confident with that again. Okay? Now, the next thing that nobody talks about, and I've mentioned it a few times in the group, is increasing your capital. Right, this can be done in two ways. Dead straightforward, natural account increase through profits, so just natural account growth, and then loading more capital to trade. Now, obviously, this one comes with its own challenges. This one comes with many more challenges. Okay? both options I've written here. Both options are mentally challenging. Option 1 is the easy route, but still comes with its own difficulties, especially if you win a large risk-to-reward trade. Right, and I've got an example here. Now, this is based on the challenge account. So, that final week, when I got the account up to $1,000, I got 2 trades in that week, and I went from $580 to $1,000 in 2 trades, and that's within, in fact, I think it were in the final 7 days, if memory serves. Right. Now, from a risk point of view, bear in mind I was risking 5%, which is obviously quite high. But obviously that was the rules of the challenge account. But from a risk point of view, my risk went from $29 loss to a $50 loss. After 2 trades, just 2 trades, it grew by 70%. So scale those numbers to whatever is relevant to you, and then work on your risk and work out what your risk would be and what your risk percentage increase would be, because that's what's relevant. So obviously, to me, with this, obviously, it's kind of, it's play money in a sense, but I can't treat it like play money because I can't trade like that. When I'm trading, regardless of it's the challenge account or it's my real accounts, I've got to trade serious. I can't trade. I can't stand. I'm going on a side rant here. I can't stand when people say, "Oh, I took that trade just for shits and giggles," or "I took that trade just for laughs, just in case it does something." I bought SHIB because it's a fun looking dog coin. I bought Dodge just because if it did a 10x, then I'd turn my grand into a mill. You know what I mean? Or just random shit like that. That is not trading. That's gambling. That is gambling. I don't give a shit who you are and what you think, and if this offends you, I don't care. That's gambling. You don't ever do something for a laugh. You don't ever take a trade for a laugh. You are taking a trade because it's serious, because you've planned it out in advance. You've planned out where you're entering, what your entry criteria is. You've planned out where your take profits are going to be. You've planned out if it's a scalp, intra, swing. You've made all the plans. You've put in the hard fucking work to get to that point, right? And that's it. It's as simple as that. You're not buying something for the laugh, which is why I can't stand shitcoin shillers. So I'll buy that, because it might do a 10x. Well, what? Technically on the chart, show me how that's going to do a 10x. It might do. Yeah, fuck yeah, it might do. But it's a gamble. It's a gamble. Out of the 10 coins that you buy, one of them might pump and the rest of them might die. It's a gamble. That is gambling. Some people do make their income that way. I'm not gonna. That's truth. But regardless, whatever your trading account size is, or how you're trading it, take it seriously. If you can't take it seriously, you're not going to make it long term. Even if you do win something big, like the dickhead moon boys that are on Twitter, they will give it all back. If it wasn't for regular repeat income that they get from referral links and shilling their shitcoin projects, they would lose it all because they don't know how to trade. Okay? The skills that I'm teaching you is how to trade. So, side rant done. So yeah, so with this genuinely did throw me a little bit, and I was joking around with Kai in the group at the time, saying, "Fuck, my risk's just increased." I think, in fact, it were even earlier than this. I think my risk increased from $17 to $30 or something like that. Or sorry, $17 to like $27 or something. And I was joking around saying it's mind fucking me. It's mind fucking me now because one loss, and that's a big setback, because it does. So, that's the easy route as well through account growth. All it takes is a couple of decent wins and it can mentally screw you. So either take a break or just take it steady. Okay. Option 2 can be the difficult one, and for me this is the more difficult one, and I've experienced this myself. So just as a random example, say you've got $100 as your capital and you've got a 1% risk. So obviously you're risking $1, right? But say that you want to scale this to five grand, right? Now your 1% risk is $50. That's a big fucking increase. You weren't even winning on decent trades. You'd have to get a decent, massively decent fucking trade, sniper entry, perfect far take profit that ran like fuck to even get $50. And now all of a sudden, $50 is now your minimum loss. Right? Now, I've put here as little side notes. Experiment with these numbers in accordance with your own size. Just obviously, this might not mean anything to some people. This might mean something to someone. But obviously, just scale these up. Scale these up. If you've got 10 grand in there and you're wanting to play with 50 grand, work out what your risk is going to be. And it changes. It does change massively. And it will change your mindset, especially in the early days when you're struggling to ignore the fact that it's just numbers on a screen and you are very focused on its actual dollar value, the monetary value. Like I said up here, once you can get to the point where you're actually treating this like it is paper money and it's not real, you'll do a lot better. But in the early days, it's very difficult to get this mindset. Okay, let me just have a quick drink. So my throat's as dry as a nun's. There we go. So, solution, increase your capital with small increments until you've hit the desired level. I had to go through this. So this isn't just some bullshit that I've made up. It's from my own experience. So, just as an example, if you're trading with $1,000 until you're fully confident in yourself, but your goal is you want to get to 10k capital, and you're going to do this via depositing more, because that's the ultimate goal. Your 1k, once you play with money, you may have increased it to 1.5k, for example, over a set period of time, and now you're ready to scale it up to 10 grand. In my opinion, the best route is small increments over a longer time period. And something really silly, something like maybe just $500 at a time, and then stick at that level. Don't increase it any further until you're comfortable with your risk again. So, if you're starting with $1,000, maybe throw 500 in, get used to that for X amount of trades. Whether that's like a month's worth of trading, maybe it's a couple of weeks worth of trading, depends on the frequency of your trades. Once you're confident with that and you've taken a few losses as well, specifically losses, then another 500 in. And keep doing it like that. So you're not going to get there fast. It's not going to be a quick thing. You're going to get there quite slowly, but that's a good thing because it gives you time to adjust. And you need that time to adjust. Okay? Now, a little side note down here. The ultimate way to conquer any of these issues is to not concentrate on the monetary value. So obviously you're not trading your P&L. So it's one thing, to be aware of all this, but if you can completely ignore the value of the money, then it becomes a heck of a lot easier. It genuinely does come a lot easier. So once you start thinking of things and the next stream, by the way, we're going to cover risk to reward trading when working out profits and things along those lines. We're going to cover compounding, but I know I've said it in the group quite a few times in the fact that I typically don't work to a standard risk to reward, but subconsciously I kind of do. So I want to talk about that. So when you start thinking about it, you've lost 1R rather than saying I've lost $1,000. It then takes away the reality that it's money, and all of a sudden it's kind of like, yeah, I've lost 1R. All right, okay, no problem. Next trade I'm going to win 3R. And then all of a sudden you're not thinking about the dollar value. It sounds daft, but it makes a massive fucking difference to your head. Okay? So, that's that. So, paper trading, good, but has its drawbacks. Scaling, difficult, but if you can get on board with it and you can fix these early, then you'll do alright. Okay? Next. Now, I can honestly say, hand on heart, out of fuck knows how many courses I've done, I've never seen anyone talk about this. Never. And I think the reason why people don't talk about this is because if someone started talking about this at the beginning of a course, or some magical here's my $3,000 keys to the kingdom course, but I'm going to talk about trading for a living, then people are going to switch off and going to say, fuck, am I buying that off you? No fucking chance. Am I going to go into trading? You know, trading's one thing. Trading on the side as you work is another thing. But trading for a living is a very different beast. It's a very different beast, and I want to be dead truthful and honest about this now with you guys. Right? First and foremost, you've got to master your other psychological issues before you get to that point. Now, by psychological issues, obviously I'm referring to trading psychology. I'm not talking about, you know, your habit of sneaking into the fridge and eating a block of cheese, whatever it is. You know, I'm talking about your trading psychological issues. You need to have as many of those ticked off as possible before you even consider doing this for a living. And I'm being dead serious when I say that. Right? Trading as your primary income comes with its own challenges. Right? First and foremost, trading is a game of probabilities. So let's say you've got a 60% win rate. Yeah? That means you're still going to lose 40 trades in 100. It's 40 trades in 100. What if those 40 trades are consecutive? Can you handle that? And that's genuine. Sit back and ask yourself that question. If you lost 40 trades in a row because you've got a 60% win rate, the probabilities are there. It can happen. Can you handle that? Right? This is real. Potts is coming in with big gif. That's cheese. I thought the serious face was to do with this, mate. I like cheese though. Consistency is now a necessity. Poor months equals unpaid bills. Right? People may rely on your income, not just you. You know, whether you've got a partner, kids, you know, dogs, cats, whatever it is, other people rely on your income. Right? So all of this will add stress and can make your trading harder. So harder to take that break that you need because you're overtired or you're pissed off. Harder to miss a trade. Harder not to revenge. Harder to not let go of a bias. You know, Spitty thinks it's going to 10k. I'm going to stick with that. I'm just going to keep shorting every pump. Oh, I've taken a loss. I've taken a loss. Triggered. Fuck. Great. Now I can't pay bills this month. Fuck. Right? Harder to take a loss even though your setup was perfect. And this becomes even more stinging. When your setup's perfect and you followed your rules and you still take that loss. And that loss, this example here, take a loss even though when your setup was perfect. This falls in to this. In your early days, you might have a 40% win rate. You can still win on that, by the way. You can still make a good income on 40% win rate. But your 40% win rate actually might realistically be a 55% win rate. But the difference between them 15% is 15% of those were fuck-ups. Avoidable fuck-ups. You know, you chased an entry, you did something that wasn't part of your rule set. Right? Think about that. So once you've got that nailed, and you still get to this 60% win rate, which is a good win rate, you know, you can get higher, but you can also do lower. So all of a sudden, those 40 trades that you're losing now, because you've ironed out everything now, so those 40 trades that you're losing are perfect setups, but you've still taken the loss. Okay? Now you got to think about it. Can you cover your bills? Can you cover everything that you need to cover? Think about that. Right? This is why it's important to have all the other elements of your trading psychology mastered before relying on trading as an income. Right? Now, these are just from my personal experience. Obviously, none of this is financial advice. You know this. I don't give you financial advice. I just give you ideas. But steps to make this easier, and this is from personal experience, right? Another income source is fantastic. So if you've got a part-time job or you're still working full-time perhaps, other businesses, side hustles, whatever it'll be, right? If you've got something else that can generate an income on the side, just to take that stress off, it doesn't have to be an income that generates you a full salary. You know, just something. Great, especially in the early days. Once you're up and running in this, you don't need these. But in the early days, you just need that comfort blanket of It's not the end of the world if I fuck up this month. It's not the end of the world if I fuck up next month, right? Partner, maybe they can cover some of the bills or all the bills. Savings, enough to last you X amount of months. Whatever your plan is, have a plan with this, right? I'm just going to cough, bear with. There we go. Apologies. Enough money in savings. And again, probably like a side note with this, and I really should say this, is your savings need to be able to cover a lot of things. So your savings, so I don't know, let's say you go for 6 months savings, right? So that 6 months worth of savings needs to A, cover your standard bills, B, cover emergencies. Don't know why I'm writing it like this because I could type it a lot faster. So any emergencies. So again, coming back to the unexpected cost shit, have you got enough money to one side if, I don't know, you need 4 new tyres for winter? Have you got enough money to one side in case your boiler fucks up? If you fuck up your carpet or something, just something like a black swan event in your own life. Make sure you've got a little bit of money to one side for one of them. Or you've got a genuine way to cover it. And then the third thing, and again, this for me is key, spend. I say spend because I'm from Yorkshire in the UK. But basically just casual spend. So your free money, whatever you want to use. If you're the sort of person that's used to going out once a week, twice a week, going out for food, seeing your friends, going out for drinks, doing whatever you want to do, going shopping, buying yourself new clothes and stuff like that. Holidays, probably a really big thing actually, is holidays. If you're used to that now, and your other half is used to it, if you are with someone, or if you're not, it makes a difference. Make sure within that savings pot, right, you've got enough money to have a little bit of fun with. Okay? Because if you don't have enough money in that pot to have some fun, and as a bit of casual spend, then you are going to resent what you do. Because you'll be working all the hours under the sun initially, trying to get the great entries, trying to get the best setups, making sure that you're absolute top of your game, better than other people, because it's a PvP game, what we play, right? That you work your ass off and then it gets to the weekend and then you realise that you've got no free cash to do something because you've not forecast for it, then all of a sudden you're going to start fucking hating what you do and you just think, well, why don't I just go back and get a fucking day job? Because at least with a day job, unless you're in some sort of sales environment, all you do is you turn up, you crack on, you do your job, you go home, you still get a wage at the end of it. You have a bad day, you still get a wage. When you're trading for a living, just like being self-employed, you have a bad day, or you decide not to go into work that day, you don't get paid. So the whole thing is it comes down to like you're self-employed. You don't perform, you don't take money home. When you're working for someone else, you don't perform, you can still take money home. It's the big difference. Big fucking difference. So it's the difference of the working for yourself mindset versus working for someone else. But just make sure, like, within that pot, that 6 month pot or 12 month pot or whatever it'll be, make sure you can cover all those 3 things. Now again, I'm not a financial advisor, but this for me was key. So just remember that. All right. Basically, you want to remove as much pressure as you can to increase your chance of success. That's the long and short of it. If you can cover some of this, and you've already mastered the first parts of your trading psychology, you've removed all your fuck-ups, then the stress of trading for a living is still there, but it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier. And then once you go in with it, your capital increases and you're trading with bigger size and yada yada yada, and you get into a very constant rhythm with it, then it becomes a hell of a lot easier and you don't stress about it anymore. And what you'll find is, depending on the capital you're trading with and what your bills are, you'll find that you can cover 2-3 months worth of bills and spend and emergency funds and whatever you need within a couple of weeks. And then you think, well, fuck it. the next few trades that I take, I'm going to make sure that they've got 10 points of confluence. Otherwise, I'm not going to fucking trade them because it's pointless. Because I've done so well that fuck this 60% win rate. Let's take that to an 80% win rate by cutting out the shit that's not working. And all of a sudden it becomes a lot easier. And it snowballs from that. That's when your account grows massively. Okay? Get rid of some of this bullshit. Really should have done that in text, but fuck it. Now, for me, you know, obviously people ask how I did it. And obviously I've talked about it a few times in the group. Now, for those that didn't know, I did have a business. In fact, I've only just sold the business about 2 months ago, give or take. So back in my early days, I did have income coming in. I didn't have anything to do with that business anymore. Well, the odd phone call here and there, and just making sure that it was ticking over and I did the accounts. But I had an income stream there. Now, admittedly, and again, I don't mind admitting this, is COVID fucked that business big time. I had to lay people off, and it was horrendous because it got that bad. So all of a sudden, I wasn't taking a wage from that. Now, my missus is an artist. Her work's like feast or famine. So if you've not heard of that expression before, basically sometimes she's snowed under with loads and decent amount of income coming in, and then sometimes she doesn't get anything. But that was fine because that was the agreement that we had when we decided to have as a little boy. You know, she could stay at home with him, stay at home mummy. I bring in the income. Absolutely fine. That was the agreement. So therefore, I couldn't rely on my other half to bring in the money. So therefore, it was down to me. And then once my business took a hit, then it became a little bit more real. However, the beauty of for me is I did have enough money in savings to cover myself. So therefore, it took that edge off. But I've seen it time and time again with other people where they don't have enough money in savings, and that stress just takes over and it consumes. So just make sure that you've got yourself prepared for this. Okay? Another thing, I suppose ties into the same thing, is I've mentioned it many, many times. I have a set capital that I trade with, which is why I'm so used to, you know, if my stop's there and my entry's there, then I know exactly what I'm trading with, because I've got a set capital. And the reason why I've got a set capital is because it keeps me in a really easy frame of mind. I can manage this. It doesn't affect me then. And I know my capital is technically oversized for what I need it. In fact, it's actually very oversized for what I need it, to cover bills and things. But that's because it's easier. I'm used to that figure now. I'm used to that amount. So therefore, scaling and all that stuff doesn't bother me anymore. I do scale technically. I scale every 3 months. But it's only a very small fraction. And then any money that I do make, I take out, and it'll pay my bills, and it'll pay for fun money, and it'll pay for holidays, and it'll pay, you know, for whatever my boy wants in life or needs in life, whatever my missus needs in life. You know, I live a comfortable life. That's fine. And then any extra will go into savings or other investments or property or, you know, whatever I need it to do. It doesn't just stay in one big pot to get bigger and bigger and bigger that you see some people doing. Because I personally can't work like that, which is why I have a set amount of capital I trade with. And that's just, again, personal preference. But some of you guys might like that because it does make managing your mind a lot easier. Okay? So yeah, so it's a bit of a deep dive into Space Life. Right. That's that part. What time are we? Oh, we're doing all right. Next. Now, for some of you that have been around crypto for a while, you might recognise this. One of the guys that I took a lot of inspiration from in the early days is a guy called Trader Dante on Twitter. He's also on YouTube, I think. He once, one of his old webinars, when I used to watch his webinars, bear in mind he's a big order flow trader. He had this because when he used to work in the market as a broker, he had one of these, and he had to fill it in. and you had to fill it in. And I took this on board in my early days, and this was awesome. So it's not just tied to psychology. It can be tied to anything, right? So, by the way, before we get any further, just to let you know, it is in cheat sheets already. There, Demon Finder. Download it, file, save a copy. So you've got it yourself. It'll probably come pre-populated with what you see on the screen here, because it's just stuff that I've written in just so you can see it. Now this tool changed my trading. So whatever your demons are, when you understand them, and when you've discovered what they are, write them on here, and then every time you make that cock up, give yourself a little checkbox. Once you get to 10 sins, stop trading and fix your shit. Right? It was the best thing for me was this. This really fixed a lot of problems. In fact, actually, a few of these things are actually genuinely real. Even though I just typed them in because I think subconsciously I knew. Trading my P&L, done that so many times in the past. Not taking profit at a level because I started typing in random numbers. Shit like that. So once you get to 10, write any notes you want, but stop trading and you'd fix that. So therefore that does not come on your sheet again. Keep it on your sheet. Once you got to 10, keep it on your sheet. And if you start ticking through them again, then you've really got a problem because you can't fix it. And if you have got them kind of problems, then talk to me. DM me through Discord and I'll work with you to try figure them out. I'm not a psychologist, but if it's something that I can relate to, then I will try my best to help you. And that's a promise for each and every single one of you. Okay? So get to 10, and if you can't fix it and you don't know how to fix it and you start cycling back through them again, speak to me. Right? So download this, use it, fill it out, write down everything that you've got, all your problems. You know, you might have 100, you might only have 2, you might have 5, whatever. Write them all down, and every time it goes wrong, take it. So I know some of you guys, trading at work's a big no-no. Trading at work happened again. Right, how do I fix this? Disable it at work. Don't allow yourself to look at charts at work, or disable your exchange platform at work. Whatever it'll be, do it. Okay. Bit of drinking ASMR for you there again. So yeah, use this tool. Use it for psychology. Use it for general problems. Use it. Okay. Questions. Have you guys come pre-prepared with any issues that you've got currently? I'll give you guys 2 minutes. Nobody's pots, mate. Yeah, it's one thing. I think it's what people don't tell you. It's people don't want to be truthful with that part, because obviously if you're truthful with that part, you know, going back to if you go back to the trading for a living, if you go back to this part, if you told someone that right at the start of someone's crypto journey, they'd just walk. And it's the truth, and I think that's the big thing, and obviously that's something that you guys expect from me. You expect a no bullshit approach, and I will always give you a straightforward and honest no bullshit approach. And this really is, you know, something that it needs discussing, but nobody will discuss it. The closest I've seen to someone discussing this is when you see people on Twitter and they talk about, you know, how much trading capital do you need to start and to turn full time. And people come up with these really crazy numbers like $250,000 plus or $1 million. And the only reason why they come up with those numbers is because they know themselves deep down that if they started with any less, they couldn't make it work because the fact that they've still got issues. because most traders do have issues, especially fucking crypto traders, because a lot of these people in crypto made money in the early days just overnight, just like that. It just happened. They blinked, and all of a sudden they've got a few million in their account and they don't know what the fuck to do with it. But when you start, like from a humble background, like someone like me who's come from effectively fuck all, growing up on a council estate, to I genuinely appreciate the value of money, and I appreciate having money now because it's something I never had. I will do everything in my power to hold on to that and keep it. So therefore, I could start with a lower amount. You don't need $250,000 to start with, as long as you are strict and you are strong with it, and you don't take those sort of trades that, oh yeah, just for shits and giggles, just for laugh. Did that just for laugh, just in case it 10x'd. If you can keep that mindset, you will do fucking well. Okay. Anyway, back to questions. Enzo, actually, no. Usually ask them when they pop up anyway. That's true, mate. Great stream so far. Like that. Yep, felt most of this. Actually, you answered my questions earlier about what to do about taking trades through boredom. Yeah, obviously that's a big thing. But boredom really kills you. If you're bored, find something to do. Either go and watch a module, read a trading book, chart some shitcoins, start practicing on, stocks, forex, start looking at those, start looking at correlations, do something productive. Just because I teach a lot about Bitcoin, obviously we are going to move on to altcoins fairly soon. And then we'll obviously move on to stocks, and we're going to move on to forex as well. But start charting other things. I don't just trade Bitcoin. I do trade other things. So therefore, when Bitcoin's boring and it's not doing anything, I've got my areas of interest ticked off, and I've got my alerts set. But if it's genuinely no fucking way near anything that I'm interested in trading, because it's not high enough confluence, then I'll look at something else, and I'll chart out something else, and then I'll set some alerts on that, and then I'll come back to it, and if still nothing happening, then I'll go set some alerts on something else, and I'll just keep doing that, and then eventually my alerts will go off, and I'll be like, all right, it's time to take a trade on Link, or it's time to take a trade on BNB, or it's time to take a trade on S&P, or, you get that drift. So there's always something to keep you occupied, especially when you do this full time, because you've got there's not a right lot else going on in your life. Pots, currently mine is, like many others, I guess, working 10 hours a day. In fact, I'm going to whack this on screen, mate, bear with me. Copy, please. Text. Boom. Know where to do that. It's got a wrap button. Love this. Right. Currently mine is, like many others, I guess, working 10 plus hours a day on Saturdays. Being tired and stressed is my main issue that holds me back due to errors. So maybe looking for a job that's less hours but enough to pay the bills is what I need to do. Yeah, again, it's not me giving you advice on this, because obviously everything's unique to what you need and your own tailored needs and your own tailored income, what you need. But I think if you're ready to start taking this genuinely dead serious, then you need to do the maths, and you need to work back to what you need in terms of money, time, savings, income, whatever it'll be. You need to do the maths and work it backwards, and then look at your journal, look at your win rate, look at everything else, and think, can I make that work? So if I went to work part-time and I only earned maybe a quarter of what I'm bringing in right now, can I make that up with trading? And have I got the capital to back that up? And I've also got enough in savings, so therefore I'm not stressed out of my tits to be able to do it. But yeah, that's a big thing. That's a big thing. Obviously, my example that I gave earlier about, obviously, I had a business. I didn't just walk out with the business one day and say, you run it and I'm going to go trade. I did it gradually. Cut my hours back bit by bit. So rather than being in the office at like 6, 7 o'clock every morning like I used to be, and then not leaving till 7, 8 o'clock at night, I started, first and foremost, it sounds daft does this, but I started doing it as a 9 to 5. And then from then, I started finishing a bit earlier, starting a little bit later, and just kept doing it like that until I found that balance. So yeah, it's something that you can work on. But yeah, I know there's a lot of people in the same situation. It's not easy, it's not straightforward, and in the early days it's very tough. But obviously when you're ready to make that leap, then just make sure you're prepared for it, and that you're not just taking a leap blindly and crash and burn, because all it'll do is it'll put you off this as a career. But as a career, it's a fucking awesome career in the end. It's very rewarding. It's a bit lonely, not gonna lie, but you know, we've got a community. We've got you guys. Kind of makes up for it. You know, you're like work colleagues. And I hope you guys obviously treat each other the same. But aside from that, it's a fucking great career. You know, you sit in your pants all day and make money on magic internet coins. It's awesome. It's awesome. But yeah, something to work on. Anyone else? Anyone else? We've got more people typing. No, mate, I can't be lonely with you guys. I really can't. Especially on a weekend or on a Friday night when I'm ready to switch off and you're asking me a fuckload of questions. Jokes, by the way. That's what I'm here for. Nobody's pot's all good, mate. I say it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I think there's a few of you because I think Diplo's in a very similar situation now. But as long as you can tick a few boxes and you've got yourself that safety net, especially in the early days, it's easier. And then once you go in with it and you've got your routine and you know when you cash out, like, you know, you have a cash out schedule. I have a cash out schedule. I pay myself like I pay myself a wage. So I know when I'm cashing out, I hit a certain amount and I cash out. But I'll normally then hold it at some point. I'll hold it back and then pay myself like it's a salary because it's just routine. It's what I'm used to doing. I'm trying and failing to be more professional in my approach. Not happy with my journal entries. It's half-assed. Yeah, that's a big thing. Is that I'm going to throw that up on screen because obviously anyone that's watching back isn't going to be able to read this. This is a very common problem, mate. So don't think it's just you. It's a very common problem, especially in the early days because journaling is the boring part. But it's got to be done. It's got to be done. It's like, you know, it's whatever job you've got. You know, if you've got a job, if you own a retail outlet, for example, it's boring cashing up at the end of the day. It's a pain in the ass. It's boring cleaning up after customers have been in. But it's got to be done. You know, if you've got a sales related job and your sales manager is asking you for a report, you've got to do it. It's just part of the process. It's part of your job. This is a job. It's part of it. Do it and do it well, because the better you do it, the better the statistics come from it. So yeah, it's not just you. Just concentrate on it. Stick to it. You know, whether you do it at each stage in the trade or as you're doing it, or you do it maybe at the end of the day. I do it, typically speaking, as I'm entering and exiting trades. But if it's a crazy day and there's all shit going on, like for example today, you know, it's a bit volatile, you know, I might do it a little bit later, and I'll set myself just some time in my calendar and I'll just enter it all in, and then at the end of the week and then at the end of the month I will then go through and review it all. Okay. Next, same. I've switched to the new Spitfire journal. I'm making sure to fill in every cell. To be fair, mate, yeah. So Stockless has said that I've switched to the new Spitfire journal and I'm making sure to fill in every cell. Really good way. Sounds daft does this, and it's a bit of a kick for anyone that's got a journal already. But starting a fresh journal, it can be really good, because if you start it from fresh, you will do it and you will do it right. If you've already started on and it's half-assed, you've kind of got that attachment to it of, oh, I'll start filling it in good now, and you'll do like 10 cells worth of really good journaling, but then you might revert back. But if you've got a brand new journal that you filled in perfectly right from day one, then you're more likely to stick to that. Again, it's just a little psychological thing. What's this one? Lucas, bear with me a minute, let's work this up on screen. I like this. We've got questions tonight. I like this. I like questions. I keep finding that all my trades hit TP1 and then break even, and only like 1 in 5 make it to TP2. Should I be taking more out at 50% TP1? That's the mental thing of what if it keeps going even though it's range lows, etc. Right, so first and foremost, right, the mental thing of thinking, what if it keeps going? Obviously, that needs to go, because obviously that's the wishful thinking. That's the typing random numbers into your exchange and working out what your profit's going to be. So just treat it as you trade, and it's probably a negative of how I teach you, but you need to be quite strict with it. You got a range, prices come down, you've got your entry, and then as usual, I say take a chunk out here, typically 50%. Take another chunk out here, 20-30% more, take out, and then leave a tiny bit in to run. Only a tiny bit. And the thing is when you trade in your P&L, that tiny bit, you look at it and think, oh fuck, I've only got like $10 of profit left in there, just as an example, by the way. If it runs, and it runs to, I don't know, maybe a 1.618 extension, and it runs outside the range, you think, well, it's not going to be worth much, is it? It's fuck all that. But it's getting yourself into that habit, because eventually when you start scaling, that $10 then might be $500. So therefore, if you let that run, then that could be worth another few grand. Just as an example. Obviously, it all depends on your entry and everything else, and movement and everything. But you really got to get used to the, right, I'm taking a chunk out here and I'm taking a chunk out here. These are my set levels. Right? Don't start getting wishful thinking. Okay? If you're actively managing it and you see it push through this without any resistance and it's coming up to the next level, it's coming up to your range high, and you're watching it and you're able to manage it and sit at your computer and watch the order flow and everything else, and you're seeing that you're still bullish, you're not getting any divergences, it's come past the resistance golden pocket that might be there and it's still going, then yeah, fair enough. But just make sure then at that point then you take out what you would have done there. So your collective, you take out your 50% and then you take out your 20 or 30%, so you're cashing out either 70 or 80% here, locking it in. Because if that then reverses on you and breaks you out, then you fucked. It's pointless in the first place. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. More. Right, next. I need to cough. There we go. Right, next. Allcoins, I didn't know there was a new one. Yeah, there's a new one, mate. We announced it in Lounge. Glanzer Mike helped us out with it. We've incorporated his and mine together to create one that's got like little fancy snazzy graphs on and stuff like that, and it's a lot easier to filter to get your data out that you want. Only set to journal properly this month, to be honest. Again, if you started it, mate, just stick with it. Yeah, that's cool. Trying to get all my info on one PC at the moment. I have Excel and MacBook. I'm switching between comps, learning Google Sheets, calendars. It will help my trading. Yeah, yeah. To be fair, it's a big reason why I like Google and use Google Sheets, because you can. Pretty neat picture. You're welcome, Enzo. When you use Google Sheets, you've got access to it everywhere, because all you need is a web browser. That's the beauty of Google Sheets. This is why I'm not a fan of Microsoft Excel or any, if Mac, iOS, whatever's got one built in or whatever. That's why I like Google Sheets, because if you use Google Drive and you use Google Sheets, you've got access to it anywhere you are. I can access my trading journal on my phone. I go on someone else's computer and I can access my trading journal. So yeah, for me, it's just handy. It's great. Right, any more questions? No. Right. If there's any more, I'll take them at the end. Get rid of that. Summary. So obviously we started this. Module 1. And we talked about this Mark Douglas quote. When you trade from a carefree state of mind, everything about your trading changes. Remember that the primary skill that we are talking about here is simply trading without fear. This is a trading skill. It is the primary trading skill that you will have to acquire to create consistency, to trade without fear. So everything I have taught you, as we said right at the start of Module 1, effectively it comes down to two things, fear and greed. And if we can conquer that, then we're doing well. then we're doing well. So trading psychology is without a doubt the hardest part of trading. It really is, and I'm pretty sure you can see even just from the past 2 streams how in depth it is, how much there is to talk about. In fact, it's the hardest streams I've put together so far, and I think I've made that comment already. The examples I've gone through over the past 2 weeks are common issues. They have been my issues, some of them. In fact, most of them have been my issues that I've experienced, but obviously they're very common issues. Now, everyone's got their own trading psychology issues, and the key to success is finding your issues or identifying them and working out how to fix them. Okay? If you know you've got one and you can identify it, then you're doing well. But if you then choose to ignore it and you put it in a box and you just put it to the back of your mind and you carry on making the same fucking mistakes again and again and again, you are not going to improve and you are not going to do well in this game. Okay? Seriously, it's business. At the end of the day, it's business. If you can't be honest with yourself about your issues, you'll struggle. And yeah, again, sounds harsh, sounds to the point, but it's me. It's no bullshit. You know, if you can't be honest with yourself about your issues, then you'll struggle. You really will struggle. And unless you fall lucky and come into a big pot of cash through a gamble trade, then you'll struggle with this. But obviously, if you want to build and build and build your trading capital with the odd dips, and you want to do this, you've got to be strict. You've got to be true to yourself. You've got to stick to your rules. You've got to master the psychology. You've got to master your head. Okay? Because that's ideally what you want your P&L curve to look like this. Okay? Final note. I've said it time and time again. I've said it right since day dot of having this group. Highly recommend anything by Mark Douglas, right? And for those of you that don't know who he is or may have put it off, right, his specialist subject is trading psychology. He was a trader, but now what he does is he talks about trading psychology because it's the biggest part. Not enough people talk about it, right? So they're not self-help books. They're not this is how to control your mind. They're basically just trading psychology. Right. For me, they genuinely, and I say this, changed my outlook. Changed my outlook on the whole of trading. So invaluable, and I still do listen to them now because it's just nice. It's nice to go over them. Normally I listen to his psychology, either his lectures or his books when I'm in bed on a night time, because I don't mind falling asleep to them because I know the books inside out. But it's just nice to get a little refresher now and again when you need it. Okay, so never stop improving yourself, whether that's your trading, your TA, your psychology. You know, within trading, outside of trading, just always better yourself, because you've got to be the best. Because if you're not the best, then someone is just going to use you as liquidity. Okay, you've got to be the top of the game. If you're not in that top 5%, sorry, you're not going to make it. Okay, real as it's going to get. Done. Right. I didn't write that in. Next stream, as we said earlier, we're going to talk not B. We're going to talk RI, and then we're also going to talk about, am I fuck typing this out? We're going to do it like this. Compounding. Because I think both needs talking about. So that is going to be, where's my calendar? So next stream will be chat and chill. So this will be the 27th. This will be in between Christmas and the New Year. Yeah, timing may change. It'll still be on that day, but it may change times. But obviously, I'll keep you guys updated. I suspect it'll still be exactly the same, but just in case. But yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about next stream. So it won't be as deep, won't be as scary, but hopefully you guys have learnt something tonight or over the past 2 modules. Yeah, you know, bit of a wake-up call, bit of honest feedback from me to you guys. So yeah, hopefully it helps. Right, on that note, I'll get the stream uploaded tomorrow, and any questions, I'll be about for a little bit.